You're listening to the Things of That Nature podcast. Coming to you from Denver, the Mile High City, is me, your host, Rockshana. I invite you to join me for truly honest, passionate, and fun talks that motivate, invigorate, and maybe inspire. When you're ready in the Mile High, the sky's the limit. Everything and anything goes. So let's start talking about things of that nature. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Things of That Nature podcast. I'm your host, Rockshana, and today, yet again, I have another guest that is not from the U.S. Well, technically, he's from the U.S., but his talents and his works are happening in Finland. Today, I have with me Tom Tika. Hi, Tom.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Glad to be on the show.
Glad to have you. You're my second person that I'm doing this in a completely different time zone type of thing.
Yeah, I got to be cautious there because sometimes, actually, Michael's pretty good at calculating the time difference. I should be, but he's better than me.
So how'd you end up in Finland?
Moved back here from the States. I mean, it's been sort of back and forth for me all my life. But to really like make a long story short, my ex-wife wanted us to move back to Finland, and that's how I came to stay about 15 years ago.
Oh, okay. Any chance of coming back to the States?
Well, I want to. There's always plans, but I've got 6 kids, and it's a large family to move abroad. The kids speak English. I've always spoken English to them, but they haven't lived in the States. They've visited. I actually came over there for a 2-week vacation a year ago. Wanted to see California. Hadn't seen it for, like I said, 15 years. It was still there, beautiful, wonderful. Didn't want to leave.
What are some things you miss from California that Finland doesn't have?
The nature. I mean, it's weird because if you ask any Finn, they'll say that one of the things that we have over here, one of the best things about Finland is our beautiful, wonderful nature. And it is pretty, but if you go to Big Sur, the Finnish nature is it's not that impressive. But I mean, this depends. If you're from the Midwest, then this would look a lot like the Great Lakes, So it's pretty. I like the majestic trees of California, and I like the ocean and some of the stuff we don't have here. We have the sea. It's not the same thing. And the lifestyle, the list is long, and I don't, and I shouldn't really say that I miss this and that, and that's better over there, because it's a matter of taste. Somebody who grew up in Finland might go to California and say that, gosh, I wish I hadn't gone there. But you know how it is. Different strokes for different folks.
Yes. And you can't compare the two because they're literally two different places. Uncomparable.
Very different places. Exactly.
All right, cool. Now, I mean, the main reason I have you on is to talk about your music. So let's get into that a little bit. Where did that all start? How did that become?
My parents were listening to music constantly. We always had music on, especially my dad. And the first memory of wanting to start playing was when I was 6, and I was in my dad's car. We went to get gas, and he had Paul Anka's, and this was old music even for that time. But but he had Paul Anka's greatest hits in the car. It was a tape. That was that way back when folks still had tape players in their cars, and I remember a song called "Lonely Boy" coming on, and I was 6, and remember I was 6 at the time. And it was just, I was mesmerized. I remember being impressed by the Latin rhythm of the song, but still what is very much Anglo type of melody. The double track lead vocals, I still to this day, actually, I think that Paul Anka does a great job with the lead vocal. But I remember I remember going back home and I asked my dad, because I had a tape player up in my room, and asked my dad to give me the tape, and I played the heck out of it. I mean, the tape's gone. I've played it too many times. I bought the for sentimental reasons. I bought the tape as a CD. I still listen to it every once in a while. Love it. You know, it's the 21 Golden Greats or whatever. It's got all the best Paul Anka songs. My personal favorite, Crazy Love is there as well. So that's where it all started when I was 6. Then I started learning the guitar, the very basics, and after a few years, started writing songs. They weren't very good songs, mind you, because I was young. I remember writing a song called Coca-Cola Song. It's the worst part of it is that I still remember it. It's an awful song. I have a good memory.
Everyone remembers their first. It is a touching moment right there.
No, I mean, I wish I didn't remember it, but I also remember the second and the third, and they were much better, to be honest with you.
Neat. So I'm assuming you played all throughout high school and all the way up into adult life.
Yeah. I mean, I think that in my early teens, I remember the thing that really got me going, wanting to be in music. I saw the Beatles. There was a rerun of the Beatles' Hard Day's Night on TV, and it must have been like, I don't know, maybe like the 25th anniversary of the movie or something like that. Could have been even 30th. But I remember seeing it, and it starts with the Beatles running away from a group of teenage girls. John Lennon's hiding in the phone booth, and these girls are just like chasing the Beatles all over Liverpool. I think that's where it's probably shot, if I remember correctly. But I remember watching that and thinking, like, that's a good job. And I also, my mom was crazy about Elvis movies, and of course, it was the same thing. I really, as a very, very, very young dude, I really appreciated all the female attention these guys were getting, and I thought that, I gotta get me some of the action, and that's when I started writing songs, and that was the very beginning. Of course, when you learn the craft and you get into it, start making records, you fall in love with the craft itself, and then you develop. But that's how it all really started. That's how I put my first band together and really started paying attention to what I was doing. I wanted to be famous. It didn't quite happen as quickly as I wanted it to happen, but that was the pull, the initial pull, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Get famous, get some girls. When you're sitting in your room and doing it, you think it happens overnight, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I think that one of the things about being a kid is that you read all these interviews, and I always tell people that don't believe everything that folks say in interviews, because you want to. There's a lot of that's happened to artists gets rewritten, in both in their heads and whatever the label's telling them to tell the folks listening to interviews or reading them. I think that I think there are miracles where somebody records a song and then overnight they become a sensation, but they're very few and far between. I think usually you have to work extremely hard and you have to be in it for the long haul to make it, even in a very small way, let alone become Elvis, if that's even possible anymore these days. Probably not. That's what I tell anybody who's 19 or 21 and they, that are starry-eyed, focus on the music, have fun with that, and then you can't go wrong.
I think that's good advice. I'd back you up on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, well, I mean, you don't get disappointed. I've seen it happen to folks where they want to become, the most famous artist or group in the world, and then when that doesn't happen, they kind of like get depressed, start drinking, and it all goes to hell. I think you got to be a realist always, and to be really honest with you, that's really what the whole thing should be about. Should be about making as good a music as you can produce, or at least music that you think is worthy. because once you stop doing that, then actually you're left with nothing.
Yeah, I back you up.
My humble opinion, of course.
Which it's very positive, and it's motivating. I mean, even in my industry and when I'm teaching kids, I tell them just do what you feel is best for yourself. Do what makes you feel good. And if something happens, and something happens, a lot of people are competing for that same role to be famous as a musician or a dancer or a writer.
Oh yeah, I mean, and having lived through some of that, having had a lot of hits, it's not really all that it's cracked up to be. I mean, as a songwriter, especially once you record for a large label, they expect results. They want each and every one of your new songs. They want them to be better than the previous one. They want them to do better than the previous one. And so I think that that can wear you down as well. And you're bound to make that one song that's a great song that's not going to be successful. And then you also need to learn to deal with that.
Yeah. Not every song's going to be a hit.
Right. That's right.
All right. If you were to count, which is probably going to be hard to count, how many songs do you think that you've written over time?
Well, I write one melody a day. That was something that my dad started, or made me realize. Let me put it to you like that. That the best songs come when you just write all the time, and then you listen back to whatever recordings you have, and then you choose from that. And so I think that anyway. I mean, we're talking about thousands of songs, but not all of them have been completed. Those are ideas. My dad always thought that songwriting should be a craft, like basically manufacturing tires or sneakers, that you work at it every day. And that's what I still do. I got my phone filled with ideas, little bitty things that, sometimes I hum them when I'm on the bus or at the store if they come to me. I probably don't even return to all of them. But finished songs, I'd say maybe finished songs that have lyrics and that are something that I could now actually, play to somebody. Probably talking about, I don't know, 350, 400 songs, something like that.
That's a good number. Practice it every day and you get better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, or do you just get lucky? Because sometimes I think that, when I sit down and I decide that today I'm going to write something that's worthwhile, and I tape it, and I listen back to it, I don't particularly like it. And usually when I have my recorder in my hand, I start listening to stuff that I recorded a year ago, and listen to quite a few songs, and then something comes on that I don't even remember, and it's great. I think that you need distance, and let's face it, 90% of the stuff that you write just isn't very memorable. I wish it wasn't like that, but it is. And then when you come up with an idea, like the new single that I have on my solo release, the EP that just came out, like Working Class Voodoo. When you get an idea like that, then it's worthy, But I wrote that when I was actually the beginning, the verse, the melody of the verse. I wrote that when I was 19, and it stayed with me all these years, but I couldn't quite finish it. And then one day I realized that, I got a nice chorus now that would fit this idea. So I keep going back and forth like that. That's how I write these days.
Cool.
It's a bit of people usually have a process. I don't. I got all these ideas. Some of them are tapes. Some of them I don't even remember. And then they pop into my head because I came up with a sequence to something that's been there for maybe 20 years, and that's how it works for me.
Nice. Have you always been a solo artist, or have you had some bands?
No, this is basically the first proper solo release that I've put together. The band that recorded for Sony